Hi, Jan Shagda here, Clarity Coaching. I work with individuals and groups to be at their best through coaching and assessments. And today we're talking about the Enneagram styles in spiritual growth. So we'll go through each of the Enneagram styles by center. So we'll start with the heart center today with style 2. And there's 4 things we'll learn about them. Number 1, how the center, head, heart, or gut affects spiritual growth. Number 2, how the social style affects spiritual growth. Number 3, some spiritual practices or disciplines that help. And number 4, a prayer posture that is great for that type. So to start with, we'll start with style 2 in the heart center. Like all heart center people, 2s, 3s, and 4s, all naturally experience God in the outer world. That's where their attention goes. That's where they get their sense of self and self-esteem is from feedback from others. And so that's also where they seek the divine. So for growth, what's needed actually is for them to experience God more fully in the inner world versus the outer world. So the way that works, usually just through simple prayer, is offering your current emotional state to God. So the trick with this, though, is that 2s, 3s, and 4s all would have a tendency to, if they're trying to offer their emotions to God, to say something like, God, I'm angry, or God, I'm really sad. When really, what should they be doing is more, either the shaking of the fist or crying and experiencing emotionally what you're really experiencing and offering that and having that be your prayer. Sounds a little weird, but it's actually very effective for growing a spiritual connection between a heart center person and God. So that's the first rule of thumb for heart center people. And then number 2, what to do with their social style. So 2s have the dutiful social style in the heart center. So to review, if you're not sure what I'm talking about, all heart center people, 2s, 3s, and 4s, all have this experience of a little bit more issue around self-esteem, a little bit of a sense of I don't have quite everything I need. There's something inherently wrong with me, and they deal with that in different ways. 2s take a dutiful approach, which means the way they get their self-esteem is by learning what others need, meeting those needs, and filling them, and that's how they get their sense of self. And it's a dutiful approach. There's one social style in each of the centers. So, for example, the 6 in the head center is also dutiful, and the 1 in the gut center is also dutiful. So hopefully I haven't lost you yet, but coming back, 2s have the dutiful style, which means when faced with a problem, just generally in life, any kind of problem, their knee-jerk reaction is going to be try harder, figure out what's expected of me, and do it. Dutiful. So that's the upside. The downside of being dutiful is it creates this really active, busy mind. So a spiritual practice that's very helpful for 2s is any kind of clearing, centering, meditation to slow that active churning that's happening in the mind. Because you can only hear from God to the extent that there's space, and if your mind is constantly running, then there's no space. So that's the advice for 2s because they're dutiful. So that would be the same advice for 1s and 6s as well. Okay, so on to our third piece of spiritual development for 2s, which is spiritual practices that help them develop. So really the best spiritual discipline in the world for a 2 would be the discipline of solitude. So this means just getting alone, getting with your thoughts, just you and God, and staying there and seeing what comes up. So there's all sorts of other kind of offshoots of this you could do, like meditation, silence, all sorts of additional exercises, but the most important thing is the solitary part. 2s often don't know what they're really experiencing unless they're alone because they're so focused on others, and that's why it's not only important, but it's actually a spiritual development for them to spend time on their own. And last, let's finish up with the prayer posture, and I guess I need to tip this a little bit so you can see what I'm doing, but the prayer posture for 2s is just this, hands crossed over the chest, and the name of the prayer posture is love. So and the idea is that as you're praying, you accept and keep all the love for yourself that you receive from the divine. Because remember, the knee-jerk reaction for a 2 would be to share that love with everyone, but really what they need is to be filled themselves. So the prayer posture is love, receiving it and keeping it for themselves. So those are the 4 pieces. I'll summarize them in the blog text as well. So join us next time for Style 3 in the Heart Triad. Thanks. See you then.